Oh, baby, 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 baby,
I dare say it's a jolly good dancing tune.
come back, baby. I wanna play house with you. Well, you may go to college, you may go to school, you may have a pink Cadillac, but don't you be nobody's fool. And I'll be.
Well, now that that's over. Wait! We got a presentation to do! Yes, well, my name is Mr. Dr. Professor Argyle Sockington, and I'm the head of the research team at FLU, Fruit of the Loom University. These are my lovely associates.
Indeed. I'm Cotton Eye Joe, and before coming to FLU, I got my degree from Haynes College.
And my name is Melina Warmfeet. I've been researching since before you were even sown. Our team has been researching fetal brain development for quite some time now, and is now being recognized with a nomination for the Nobel Prize.
Now, we're talking about brain development. Where do we begin?
First, a mommy and daddy fall in love.
No. We're not getting into all of that. Let's start talking after conception has taken place, around week 3.
Oh, okay. Well, neurulation begins dorsal to the notochord. The ectoderm transforms into taller cells, and the neural plate thickens. The plate narrows and elongates.
The lateral sides then begin folding and eventually fuse to form the neural tube.
In the first 4 weeks after conception, neural tissue known as the neural plate forms in the outermost layer of embryonic cells. The neural plate folds to form the neural groove, then curls to form the neural tube. This tube differentiates into the forebrain, the midbrain, the hindbrain, and the spinal cord.
The neural tube cranial to the fourth pair of somites develop into the brain. The rostral neural cord closes, and 3 primary brain vesicles form: the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain.
The forebrain will develop into the cerebral cortex, which translates sensory stimulation. It also controls complex behaviors, thoughts, memories, and problem solving. The midbrain will develop into a neural relay station for sending information from the body to various sites in the brain. The hindbrain will control the most basic physiological processes, such as breathing and heart rate. The spinal cord is the pathway for conveying information between the brain and the rest of the body.
From weeks 3 to 8, the 3 vesicles of the brain are forming along the optic stalk, and the brain forms 2 distinct hemispheres.
There is rapid neuron production from weeks 9 to 12. 200,000 neurons are produced per minute.
Although there's rapid neural production, the brain grows very little in size.
That's right. And by now, the spinal cord is clearly defined.
Weeks 13 to 16 are when we see growth in the brain size. And by weeks 17 to 20, the brain can form millions of motor neurons.
Because of the motor neurons, a baby can make voluntary muscle movements. Meanwhile, the forebrain is continuing to develop into the right and left hemispheres. Sensory nerve cells now begin to regulate body functions.
Nerve cells can make complex connections by weeks 21 to 24. The baby is able to distinguish different sounds within the womb. The brain can now begin to regulate body functions.
As the brain begins to form gyri and sulci, it is possible the fetus had the ability to dream. By weeks 25 to 28, the nervous system can control voluntary breathing and can regulate body temperature.
For the 3rd trimester, little brain development occurs. The brain grows rapidly in size.
But at birth, the brain is only 1/4 the size of an adult brain.
Myelination of the brain will also continue until about 8 years of age.
Between weeks 4 and 8, the embryo grows rapidly and the face becomes recognizably human. The eyes on the side of the head begin to migrate forward, and two distinct hemispheres of the cerebral cortex emerge. Between weeks 8 and 26 of the fetal stage, the cerebral cortex grows to cover the midbrain. By week 28, a major structural change begins. The cortex expands greatly in surface area and becomes wrinkled and folded inside of the skull. Beginning at week 28 and continuing through week 40, the brain surface fills with hills and valleys, called gyri and sulci. These cerebral folds and wrinkles help to create a vast neural network, which allows the brain to become a highly flexible yet precise control center and processor of information.
Now that we've informed you on how the baby's brain should normally develop, we're going to let you know some of the things that can go wrong with brain development. When things go wrong with the brain, the first place it starts with is the neural tube.
Defects occur during neurulation and most often have to do with the anterior or posterior neural pore not closing properly. Neural tube defects are classified as either closed or open, depending on if the neural pore closes properly.
Open neural tube defects affect the entire central nervous system and are due to something which went wrong during primary neurulation. In open defects, neural tissue is exposed and cerebral spinal fluid leaks.
Closed neural tube defects usually only affect the spinal cord and very rarely the brain. With closed defects, something went wrong during secondary neurulation, so no neural tissue is exposed and is fully epithelialized, but the skin may be dysplastic.
Dysplastic means the cells which line the spinal cord are immature, and if there are any cells with reached maturity, they are very few in number.
Genetics, nutrition, and the environment all affect factors in brain abnormalities. Approximately 3 in 1,000 births have some sort of brain defect.
The primary manner in which environmental agents affect the development of the brain is by interfering with the various processes that control gene activity.
Here are some toxins and environmental agents that could affect the baby's brain growth. Lead and alcohol interfere with the differentiation of nerve cells and transmission of nerve impulses. Mercury easily crosses the placenta and impairs IQ and language development. Manganese is many times associated with ADHD and Parkinson's disease. PCBs, aka polychlorinated biphenyls, impair reflexes and IQ, delay mental development, and can cause hyperactivity. Tobacco smoke and nicotine can cause IQ defects, learning disorders, and attention deficits, as well as impaired language skills.
Bisphenol A alters the expression of genes for long-term memory formation and early brain development. Perchlorate solvents can cause learning, speech, and motor skill defects. Prions are an infectious type of protein that causes a rare brain disorder called variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Alcohol crosses the placenta and causes learning problems, lowered IQ, mental retardation, and conditions such as fetal alcohol syndrome, or FAS.
With alcohol, one of the biggest problems is FAS. In most severe cases of fetal alcohol syndrome, there is fetal death and major problems with the central nervous system.
There is no medical test for this disorder and therefore should not be used as a clinical diagnosis. There is no cure for fetal alcohol syndrome.
Some signs and symptoms of FAS are abnormal facial features such as smooth ridge between nose and upper lip, a small head size, shorter than average height, difficulty paying attention, low IQ, and poor reasoning and judgment skills.
Drugs can cause malnutrition, birth defects, withdrawal symptoms, and seizures. Other drugs like caffeine, vitamins, and herbal teas can also be harmful.
Shaken baby syndrome occurs when violent shaking pitches the child's brain in different directions, causing parts of the brain to pull away, tearing brain cells and blood vessels. It causes brain swelling and damage, subdural hemorrhage, mental retardation, cerebral palsy, developmental delays, speech and learning difficulties, paralysis, and death.
Now we're going to talk about nutrition. When a fetus is deprived of adequate calories and protein, it will not grow to its full potential physically or mentally. Brains will be smaller because of the reduced dendritic growth, reduced myelination, and fewer glial cell production. To ensure adequate fetal growth, an extra 300 calories per day is needed, including 10 to 12 additional grams of protein.
We all hope everyone enjoyed our presentation.
And here's hoping that we get the Nobel Prize.
See you later.
Oh, I just forgot. Just for the occasion, I've made a smashing black pudding. If I say so myself, it's bloody good. Oh, I nearly wet my knickers sometimes on how dandy I am. Yes. Oh, blast, I dare say I'm in a sticky wicket I am, for I seem to have misplaced my, let's just end this thing.
Bye!
Oh, baby, 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 I come back, baby. I wanna play house with you. Well, you may go to college, you may go to school, you may have a pink Cadillac, but don't you be nobody's fool. And now, baby, come back, baby, come back, baby.